What accounts, in your opinion, for the high police homicide rate in Jamaica and the constant and widespread charge that the police are engaged in committing acts of extrajudicial killings?
I think over the years, over many, many years, the police has allowed itself, and I use those words deliberately, to become, in the first place, agents of the state, and secondly, instruments of repression. In addition to that, and I think that we need to recognize this as well, the police have increasingly found themselves having to deal with a kind of criminal activity out there for which the police was never designed to confront and to deal with. And the third point I would make is the fact that probably 80% of the people in the force today grew up under a Suppression of Crime Act, got their introduction to police work, were trained under the Suppression of Crime Act, which vested in the police some horrendous powers to detain and search without warrant and that sort of thing. So I think that while we have removed some of those powers from the statute books, we have retained some, and I believe that even that needs to be re-examined. There's a whole reorientation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force that has to be done, and I don't think that we've made sufficient effort to do that.
If you were to become Prime Minister tomorrow, are there any immediate change that you would,
A number of things that can be done immediately. For example, we have not completed the process of insulating the police force from political manipulation. While we have given the Commissioner of Police autonomy in terms of the operational command of the force, he's still subject to policy directives from the Minister of National Security, and he is still fettered by a police services commission that is effectively appointed by the Prime Minister. One of the first things that can be done, and that can be done in the shortest possible time, is to create an independent police services commission that would not be subject to the direction and control of the government, and would therefore be able to handle internal matters of discipline, of promotions, of reward within the police force, free of any sort of political interference. That's the first thing that ought to be done. But in my view, there's going to be need for a whole restructuring which needs to start at the top. We do a lot of shuffling in the middle, but at the very top, I think that we have to bring in some new people, people who are seized of the extent to which the police force is losing the battle against crime, and who appreciate that the answer to that, the reasons for that, have to do with not just insufficient arms and ammunition. It has to do with the method of policing, and are prepared to put in new methods. The problem that Jamaica has in terms of crime and in terms of the difficulty in policing that crime are not difficulties that other countries have not faced. There are other countries that have faced it, have had it even worse than we have it. And they have dealt with it, they have succeeded. I believe that we can too, but I don't think that we're approaching it the right way.
Why is it that when egregious acts of police brutality are committed, we never hear a comment from the Prime Minister or the Minister of National Security?
To be charitable, and I'm going to be charitable in this response, I suspect that they don't want to say anything which would in any way dampen the spirits or demoralize or demotivate the police force. But then I think that the political directorate, particularly the Prime Minister, needs to recognize and needs to accept that he has a responsibility that goes far beyond just the members of the constabulary force. He has a responsibility to the entire country. And one of the foremost among his responsibilities must be the necessity to ensure that people's rights are respected. When you have agents of the state who are breaking the law, and breaking the law claiming authority to do so, because that's what creates a human rights problem. There are people who say, well, what happens when criminals go and murder people? What about their human rights? with the greatest of respect, that's not in essence a human rights question. That's a question of criminality. Because people have no right, and people can claim no right to go kick down anybody's door and shoot them. That's a crime, and what you want to do is to catch that criminal, have him put before the court, and have him punished by the court. But when a policeman kicks down your door, he claims to be doing that with authority, when in truth and in fact he may be doing something that is no different from when the criminal kicks down your door. The only difference is that he claims lawful authority in doing that. Now that becomes a human rights issue, and it has to be the responsibility primarily of the government to protect citizens from that kind of abuse of their human rights. I don't think that the Prime Minister has been as forceful and as forthright as he ought to have been. There's this illustration that some time ago, when a cruise ship out of Europe docked in Port Antonio, the police, evidently thinking that they were carrying out their lawful duties, went and searched the luggage of these tourists. It turned out that these tourists had some high-powered people on it, including, I'm told, the chairman of BMW. And the Prime Minister gave an order that he wants an investigation as to how come the luggage of these tourists had been searched, and he wanted a report put on his desk within 24 hours. He has never moved with such alacrity when it is ordinary black Jamaican people who have been murdered. He has never sought to get a report on his desk within 24 hours, and he has a lot of explaining to do.